Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. It's the 11th of July. Preseason kicks off tomorrow. Man United playing Leeds. We've got Mount. He could make his debut. We'll speak about that a little bit later in the show. What about Onana? What's the latest on the Onana situation? We want that deal done this week. Erik Ten Hag wants him on the plane to America. So it doesn't really matter about this game that's coming up against Leeds. And I think we play Lyon next week. I'll run through all those fixtures. But Ten Hag wants him on the plane. I believe our first game on the tour is against Arsenal, then Wrexham, Real Madrid. Plenty to talk through with Onana, with Amrabat. Reports suggesting that initial talks have taken place. Not to the point where, oh, look, Amrabat's going to be done. Great, another new signing. That's more for if we get the sales done that we need to this summer. I did my FFP video yesterday that so many of you have been asking for. And yes, it was complicated because it is complicated. I'll run through a little bit of that. Onana, Hojlund, Amrabat, preseason tour, Harry Kane being on hot ones. that is not a collaboration I expected to ever see. But I'm going to run through it all. I think it'll be a good show today. Good morning. Who's here? Muiz, Mo Salah, good morning to you. Or you're tuning in again. How you doing, buddy? And you're there. Anthony, Chris, Nima. We've got AJ, Carl, Gary, you're there too. On Facebook, we've got Ray Rogan. Got Mallory Meredith. Good morning to you. Will Jones, Gwynfor, Ali, Lisa, Huji, Ian Cartwright. Good morning. There's plenty of you tuning in, plenty of regular faces, and as always, new faces. Jonesy, you're there too as well. Nice to see you there again. But look, it's always a busy show. It's always stacked. I try to cover as much as possible. Sod knows how many tabs I've got open this morning. I do my research every morning, so you don't have to cover the news. If you do enjoy it, make sure you drop a like on the video. But let's go straight into the news. Now, there's something that was announced yesterday, which is pretty cool, actually. Old Trafford is taking on another 2,100 safe standing seats. Now, if you've ever had the pleasure of enjoying a safe standing seat, I got it for the League Cup final against Newcastle. I mean, it's so much better. It really is safe standing. Because if you're at a football game and you're a bunch of mates, certainly away from home anyway, no one sits down. I can't remember the last time. No one sits down at away games. It's not you just don't do it. You might do it at home, but not Old Trafford in the TRA section either. It's needed. It's been needed for a long, long time, and it makes such a difference. So it's good to see that another 2,000 seats are going in. I think they're going in next to Stretford Inn, where the old family section was. I think so anyway. So that's good news. I just thought I'd bring that because that came out yesterday, and I like to see it. There needs to be more of it, really. There absolutely needs to be more of it. But to begin the show, I want to talk about this video that I did yesterday. All right? It was complicated. It really is a complicated situation. And the long and the short of it is Manchester United's finances as a football club, they're not good. They haven't been good for a long, long time. Right? And I tried to run through and explain sort of the full scale of it all. But I think this is probably the most important aspect of it. Manchester United's losses as it stand. Let me go back to it here actually before I run through this. Our losses as a football club as it stands over the last 3 years, reporting years, is over £200 million. Now that's going to get cut down because of COVID and how much football clubs lost during those 2 years, 2018 to 2020, I think. Was it 2019? No, it's 2019, and it was over 20. 2020 was when it started. So it's 2019 to 21, I think. Yeah, it is. That's when it was. So over those 2 periods, what's happened is Man United, they estimated their losses at about 190 million. So that gets cut in half because it's averaged. And all of a sudden, that 95 million gets taken off the 200 mil that United owe. Not owe, but the 200 million that we've lost. That's what I mean. I'm getting confused again. But this is the big thing here, right? Because, years move on. Next year, at the end of it, when you look back at the 3 years of accounting that's taking in to look at the profit and sustainability by the Premier League, that COVID year, it's not there anymore. So Man United won't be able to reduce our losses by the 90 million that we did before, which means all of a sudden, our losses are going to go up significantly. So I think the main thing I would say about FFP is Man United we can stay in line with FFP without really needing to worry about it if we sell correctly this summer. And the thing that can change for next summer is this, right? Because the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, they only allow you to lose 15 million over a 3-year period. However, you're allowed losses of up to 105 million as long as that 90 million difference is covered by secure funding from the club's ownership. Now, that's a big difference, right? Because we know full well that the Glazers would never put that money into the club. However, we also know that new ownership would change that. Now, it's written there that can't just be simply, oh, here's 90 million as a loan from me to you, if the Qataris were to take over or if Jim Ratcliffe was to take over. But me reading that on the top level, it should mean that as long as we do the takeover this summer, by the time that comes around next summer, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it's certainly part of the whole thought process of why FFP is a problem for United now and why we've got to keep an eye on it. But ultimately, that if we sell correctly this summer, it shouldn't really get in the way that much. Now, you might say, oh, it already has got in the way. We haven't spent 100 mil on Declan Rice. We're not gone after Caicedo because he's 100 mil. We haven't got 100 mil to spend on Harry Kane. And in that sense, okay, fair enough. It has hampered us. But even if we had 100 mil and we were offering Spurs 100 mil, I'm not sure they would accept it anyway. But look, I've spoken about it for a couple of minutes there, and it just reminded me how confusing that video was. If you'd like to, if somebody can leave the link in the comments, it's on the channel. Take 10, 15 minutes of your time in a quiet, dark area and listen as much as you can because it is quite difficult. What are you all saying down here in the comments? Or you're saying, well, you're telling me new owners will benefit the club. I know. It's incredible. It's just yeah, this whole situation around FFP and concerns around it is a direct consequence of the Glazers' ownership, man. Mo, you're saying, how much can the new owners put in as a maximum? Those rules are kind of getting... I don't know if there is an actual rule on that, no. But obviously, if you look at what's going on right now with Newcastle, I actually think it's been ratified. They're about to be sponsored on the front of their shirt by a company which is owned by PIF. And it's going to be worth about 4 to 5 times what their previous front shirt sponsorship was worth. But they're somehow being allowed to do that. So when it comes to rules and circumnavigating rules, man, it's all been done there before. Ogre Camera here saying, coming in nice and hot, nice and strong, nice and rude, my friend. How dare you, Sam? How dare you give a quick 5-minute synopsis of a very complicated video to anybody else watching this morning who might not have seen it? That's a ridiculous idea. How dare you do that? Sorry, ladies and gents. I'll just go off there, all right? I'm leaving now. Oh, man. Some people absolutely crack me off that they feel so empowered to leave the comments they do. And sometimes I nibble and I have to call them out on it. That one there is one of them. Right. Let's talk about Onana now. This is the transfer that we all want to happen this week. This is the only transfer that will happen this week. There will not be any more secret signings. I don't think we're going to be getting too much movement on Hojlund anytime soon. And I think I said that last week as well. I'd love it to happen. I'd love it to happen as soon as possible. But it feels like that's one that's going to be not as easy to negotiate. I'm going to give you the latest that we know about the Onana situation, right? Fabrizio Romano saying this yesterday, and he's saying, look, this is the situation, which is what he said on the day before. Sources expect that agreement to be done by Wednesday, Thursday. Now, tomorrow, of course, we play Leeds. I'm going to take a look at some news. We should be getting the travelling squad, because the game's in Oslo. Should be getting the travelling squad at some point this morning. My lunchtime video is going to be it'll be a predicted 11. If I can get 11 out of 11, I may as well not put any money on the lottery, because sod knows what team it's going to be. But it's also going to be about things that we should be looking out for in the preseason. Maybe slightly different positions for people. Whether Kobe Mainu, for example. I think there's quite a lot to talk through. But in terms of Onana, look, this came from the Times yesterday. And we spoke about this on Friday. I think it was Friday. The fact that they're looking at Jan Sommer, and I think it's Trubin. I think he's Shakhtar Donetsk goalkeeper. Inter are already lining up their replacements. They might be playing hardball over the price, but as Simon Stone sort of reports here, he's saying, look, there's an obvious link between how much Inter are demanding for Onana and how much money they're going to have to spend on Lukaku. Because they're not exactly a club which is flushed with cash. And they kind of haven't been for a long time. So maybe those two things are linked, and maybe that's why they're trying to squeeze a little bit more out of United for Onana. Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail said, look, the deal is at its final stages. Fabrizio Romano reiterating yesterday, the agreement is expected to be done by Wednesday or Thursday. So I hope we get the here we go before I go away on that stag do, because that would be annoying if I missed that bad boy. We're hearing slightly tentative reports here. Look, Ten Hag has asked that Onana is signed by Friday. It's a matter of time. It's felt like a matter of time since, I suppose, last week. That's why I had the confidence to do a video on how much I really thought Onana would transform this team. I had the confidence to do a video looking at how Manchester United could line up if we signed Onana, Hojlund, and Mount. And I absolutely feel that at some point this week we're going to get the here we go. It's minor. It's not just about, because obviously we look at transfers and go, right, how much have you offered? You've offered 45 mil. How much do they want? 50 mil. Well, just pay the 5 and get it done. But it's not just about how much money it is. It's how much do you pay up front? How many years is the rest of it going to be paid over? I think Arsenal are paying for Declan Rice in 3 payments over 2 years, which is huge. So they're going to be paying 100 mil for Declan Rice over a 2-year period. That's massive. Normally, transfers are amortized over a bigger period than that, but that's probably why City looked at it and went, well, sod that. They couldn't go anywhere near spending that amount of money in that short amount of time. So maybe it's to do with those payments, because Inter are desperate for that cash. So they probably want more up front so they can go and sign Lukaku. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe that is indeed a reason why it's slowing down. But I'm still confident this should be done this week. Famous last words and all that. But Inter they're already looking at their goalkeepers. It's not a case of whether they're going to sell Onana to United. I think it's done. I mean, it's not done. But yeah, we should get that here we go this week. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. What else am I doing down here? I'm going to read a few of your comments out right now quickly before we move on. What are we saying? And you're saying I'm still a tad baffled they're selling Onana when they have other players they could afford to lose more than him. Well, they signed him on a free, and then a year later they're about to sell him for 50 mil. So when you put it like that, and in sort of a 12 months of accounting, they're like, yeah, all right, oh, cool. That makes perfect sense. So it's pure profit for them. Maybe that's part of it. What else are we saying down here? Onana will be the second Cameroonian player to play for United after Djemba Djemba. Now, that, Ian, if that's correct, that would be a ridiculously hard pub quiz question. That's sort of question I need to put in on the Friday quiz. Can we get a Friday? I think we can get a Friday quiz this week. I'll try and get one done. Depends how busy everything is. It is a bit full on these days. It really is. Alex, I can see you down there, man. Thank you very much. The gong, she's here. She'll get retired at some point soon. But I'm a little bit nervous of launching the new software in the middle of the transfer window when things really are crazy. It feels like it will be a slightly stupid idea to do that. But look, what else are we saying about this? So everyone's asking about the takeover, ladies and gents. I wish I had takeover news to bring you, but I do not. You can see on the board there about Rasmus Hojlund. He's in the moving category. Moving very, very slowly. But a £50 million bid is expected to be launched. And I thought this was an interesting one that came out yesterday, because we've heard about the concept that Manchester United might send Mason Greenwood on loan to Atalanta as part of a deal which would see Rasmus Hojlund come back to the club. Come back to the club. Rasmus Hojlund join Manchester United. Now we're seeing the idea of maybe Amad going on loan as part of the deal. And I wanted to know what you thought about that in the comments. Because Amad, he really had a cracking loan spell last season at Sunderland. Just missed out on promotion. I think he finished their top scorer. He really developed very, very well. And a lot of people are really excited to see what Amad does in this preseason. Now, Sky Sports, they're reporting that Ten Hag wants to see Amad firsthand. So maybe we'll be seeing Amad start against Leeds. When he left for Sunderland, he absolutely needed that development. Had a very small frame, very easy to knock off the ball, and the Championship is a very physical and very physically demanding league as well. Even more fixtures in the Premier League, but he nailed it. I want you to let me know what you think about the idea of Amad going there on loan as part of a deal that might see Hojlund join United. On the right wing, we've got Anthony. I think because we've got Rashford and Garnacho on the left wing, I think you're basically looking at the right wing for Jadon Sancho next season. Right wing or in the number 10. And I don't think the number 10 would exist next season because I think the positions will change. So the right wing. Then you've got Anthony, you've got Sancho, you've got Amad, you've got Pellistri. Something's got to give. Because you can't keep all those players happy. So whether it's Pellistri going out on loan, we spoke about FC 20 yesterday, or Amad going to Atalanta as part of a Hojlund deal, or Man United accepting a massive bid for Jadon Sancho. Something's got to give. What do you think it's going to be? What are you saying down here? Alex, you're saying would prefer Greenwood there. If Amad were to go, I'd rather him go to a Premier League club, says Ian. What Premier League club? Fulham? Fulham might be quite good for him, actually. I could see that happening. It is Amad's birthday, so happy birthday to Amad. He's 21 today. If Amad is not given the chance this season, I can't see it happening in the future, says Rob. I mean, I could. I wouldn't say that him going out on loan now is the complete definitive end of it, but as I said, and I have said, players that are sent out twice on loan to two different clubs, I don't think there's that many that then come back to their parent club and nail it. I'm not saying that they don't, and it's impossible. I'm just saying that's just my feeling of it, and I don't think there are that many examples of it. But he could. I mean, he absolutely could. And he's 21 today. Happy birthday to the lad. But look, the Hojlund situation, there's no news, there's no update on the on that 50 mil bid. It's down there and it's got pending written next to it because it is pending. Man United, I think, are trying to get the Onana deal completely over the line first. Now, you might say, Sam, look, why is it that United can only deal with one of these signings at once? It's because the Hojlund one, I think, is complicated by our lack of budget. Onana, we've got the money for. We had the money for Mason Mount. We had the money for Onana. Both of those can be, relatively straightforward and relatively quick. The Hojlund situation is not like that. I think before we sign, not before we sign Hojlund, but by the end of the summer, we would have needed to sell someone to balance out the books for the Hojlund situation. So it's a little bit more complicated. A little bit more complicated. Oh, man. Look at that. Mate, Seven Samurai, you are a proper OG of the channel, a proper godfather of gifting. That's what I'm going to call you. With 20. Yeah, you got 4 gongs. 4 gongs. Why not? Hero, man. Hero to everybody. And all of you keep helping. I sometimes say this, and I feel like saying it now. I managed to bring on another new guy to help with short videos. There's a couple more designers now who are helping with the social content. So everything that you're doing with the memberships is being invested back into making the memberships even bigger and better. Something I want to do before I launch the new software is I'm going to rejig all of the membership levels. I'm going to introduce new perks. We're obviously going to be bringing the arms back in time for the preseason. Maybe not in time for the preseason, but certainly in time for the season. So I'm going to be redesigning and giving more to the membership levels. And you're all helping making this happen. So much love to all of you. And Seven Samurai, very generous of you, man. In terms of other transfers, I'm going to be moving on to Amrabat chat in a second. But John Cross from the Mirror suggesting that Everton have made an inquiry to sign Tom Heaton. Now, you remember that United have already rejected an inquiry from Luton for Tom Heaton. So I don't know whether Erik Ten Hag is just looking at Tom Heaton going, nah, man, he's my third choice goalkeeper. Like, it doesn't really matter what's happening. Tom Heaton's going to be staying. But of course, we might well be signing someone like Zion Suzuki, Bayinda from Fenerbahce, a goalkeeper that's going to be in the region of £2 to £8 million, like a young goalkeeper that's of the same style as Onana. And I will always look at that as the example of what happened in the FA Cup final when it went from Edison to Ortega, I think it was. City's second choice goalkeeper, and you wouldn't have known, man. He played so well, it looked like he was their first choice goalkeeper. Exact same style of play. That's something that at this moment in time, I don't think United would have between Onana and Heaton. Heaton's a little bit more confident at controlling his area, coming for crosses than De Gea is or was. But let's find out. Because the Tom Heaton one, I think, is an interesting one to look at. Of course, Matej Kovar as well. He's come back. Won the league at Sparta Prague last season. He's in the preseason squad. I imagine we'll be seeing him play either against Leeds or in our second game against Lyon. Now, I'm going to run through this full list. These are our preseason games that we have got before we kick off against Wolves. So I'll run through all of those, but it kicks off tomorrow against Leeds in Oslo. But yeah, I'll be interested to see. That's Amrabat, wrong one. I'll be interested to see. That's Fred. Jeez, come on, Sam. Too many tabs. Too many tabs. Be interested to see what happens with Tom Heaton. It strikes me that he'll stay as our third choice, and also that he's probably going to be happy with that. So I think so. Stevie, you're going to be at the Lyon game. Enjoy yourself, my friend. Chris, you're saying that all preseason United games are on MUTV. Yeah, they're on MUTV. And other things. My friends told me. I've no idea what I'm talking about there. But look, we spoke about Fred yesterday. He's just got new agents. And let's be totally honest, right? You don't get new agents if you don't intend on needing new agents. Now, what's the point? I think Fred is certainly considering his options. I imagine he's had a very honest and open conversation with Erik Ten Hag. So he knows exactly the position that he is in, which is probably why he's, on the lookout. I think Fulham would be a cracking move for Fred. Gets to move in a really nice place. Hey, move to West London. Very nice. Enjoy yourself in the Premier League. Good midfield setup they've got. They've got the Paulinho, of course. Andreas Pereira. Maybe the second Brazilian that we sell to Fulham. What do you think is going to happen with Fred? Type it in yes or no. Do you think Fred will be a Manchester United player next season? Just type yes or no in the comments. A couple of new members there. Let me read the names out. We've got Macaulay. How you doing, buddy? And we've got Conte. Let me know where you two are watching from. I'll try and spot your names and give you a quick shout out. Ryan, you don't think that he'll be in next year. Kevin, neither do you. Chris, you don't. Paula, you don't. KGF, Mo, Clayton, Simon, you don't. Vincent, you think he will. Robert, you think he will. DJ Superfly Guy, you think he will. Warren Brighton, you think he will. I don't think he will. Personal opinion. I think Fred's a decent player. I think he will be a decent player if he leaves Manchester United and goes somewhere else. And I imagine there'll be clubs that want him, whether it's Fulham. Has anybody seen any other clubs that are linked with him as well? I don't think I have. Or maybe there are. I just haven't been keeping an eye on it. Oh, look at that. Macaulay, you've just joined and you just sent a super chat. What are you saying, sir? You're saying rate a summer of Mount, Onana, Hojlund and Amrabat out of 10. Is that out of 10 according to expectations going into it? I always think about that. I mean, look, Mason Mount, I think, is a fantastic signing. Onana, I think, is arguably the best signing we could make in that position. You can have an argument for Diogo Costa if you really wanted to, but pretty much Onana is the best of the best there. Hojlund, we wanted Kane. Yes, we wanted Kane, but Mount and Onana are both the first choices in those particular positions. To sign a Casemiro backup would be a big one. Hojlund, I'd probably give it an 7.5. Because I really do think we need 2 strikers this summer. I'm going to give it a 7. It's a good question, though. It's a good question. But look, let's move on to, this is an interesting one. This is a name that's been, I don't know, it's kind of been lurking in the background for a while, isn't it? So much so that I've got Amrabat down. I've got Amrabat down in the could happen board. I probably should rub that off now. Live updates. That was, I think it was Justin Balo from Feyenoord. Because that was when we were looking at goalkeepers who were cheaper than Onana, but we're not looking at him anymore. But Amrabat, right? It's a really interesting one. Because I don't know, it's one that seems to be maybe not splitting opinion so much, but certainly not a priority signing for Manchester United. However, if you're looking at our midfield options now, right, we've got Mason Mount, we've got Christian Eriksen, we've got Bruno Fernandes, we've got Van der Beek there at the moment, but I don't think he'll be here next season. And you can see the positions across the midfield. There's a good starting player and there's a decent enough backup. But when it comes to Casemiro, there is no alternative right now. You could say that McTominay is the alternative. And there was that one period last season where I let myself get caught up in the concept and the hype in my head that McTominay could play like that. I think it was after Brighton and Brentford when we went 4 games. When we beat Arsenal at Old Trafford, Liverpool at Old Trafford. I think it was Leicester away. I think it was Southampton away. If I've just remembered that, then I deserve, I don't know, nothing. But it was pretty good. McTominay played in that sort of number 6 in those positions, in those games. And I remember him being pretty good. And I was like, maybe I've been unfair on McTominay. Maybe I've been unfair. But no, he can't play that position. So Amrabat is a really interesting one. Now, Florian Plettenberger, I think he works in Sky Sports in Germany, saying, look, United are monitoring Amrabat closely. Go down there saying, look, at this stage, it's not advanced, but first talks have taken place. So United have put the feelers out effectively. Now, with Amrabat, it very much revolves around sales. If we sign Amrabat, then we're definitely looking at Fred being sold. If we sign Amrabat, then we may well be looking at Scott McTominay being sold as well. Because I personally see, I've said this before quite a few times on the channel, I personally see Mason Mount being the upgrade on Fred. If we sell Fred, I would say, right, okay, that's just a perfect squad upgrade from a technical perspective. And I would say Amrabat and McTominay are the same sort of conversation. If we were to sell McTominay and bring Amrabat in, I think that's a significant upgrade in that sort of deeper, like that player who is really comfortable receiving the ball from his defenders first, turning and facing the opposition and finding a teammate. Somebody who keeps the ball moving. The recycler of possession. Might not be the most important part of football, but for United, it's an important flaw that we've had before. So I'll be interested to see how it continues to develop, because I genuinely think that, Alex, you just said it down there, like the idea of McTominay being sold for 30 million, and Man United then signing Amrabat for 30 million, net zero. But do you then have a player who, from a profile perspective, ticks more boxes for what Erik Ten Hag needs? And I think the answer there is a resounding yes with Amrabat. And that's why I'm intrigued about it. Because I think United, if United are kind of smart about it, it's not something that's going to cost us much or anything at all. And McTominay is easily worth 30 million. I know some people will turn their nose up at that, but he really is. Like James Trafford, that goalkeeper who's just won the under-21s European Championship with England. He's been touted with a 20 million pound move to Burnley. He's not even played a first-team game. Nah, man. McTominay's worth at least 30 million. Allergy. You're saying, hi, Sam. First time watching you live. Watching from Seattle. It's 2:30 in the morning, mate. I love that commitment, but get to bed. I'm far less exciting than sleep. Sleep is great. Sleep is life. What are we saying down here? You're saying that Maguire should be the first to leave. Well, you know what I think about Maguire. I don't particularly see how there's a way back in for him next season. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but yeah, I want him to leave as well. Neil, I've kept reiterating that. I think it's a bigger problem so far this summer. I really, really do. I think Manchester United need. Well, I suppose we can't really do anything until someone comes knocking at our door. Well, can't just go knocking on every club. You fancy buying Maguire? You know, just while we're here. Also said it with McTominay. We need clubs to come to us. Jordan, you sent a super chat. What are you saying, sir? Can you do a video on Amrabat, please? I don't know him. Yeah, I've got the full story planned on Amrabat. Been planning it for a while. I think today, I was kind of umming and ahhing, but I think today I want to do a video on the preseason. Preseason last season, I always remember that was probably one of my favorite periods working here on United People's TV and the content I was doing, because that's when we were looking at Ten Hag's training videos and style differences, and I really enjoyed it. So this preseason, I don't know whether I'll cover it in as much depth, but I will try. And we'll talk about the preseason in about 5 minutes or so. Quickly talk about Harry Kane. Saw an article from the Telegraph this morning that made me kind of go, huh? What's going on there? And also, before I speak about this news article, this. I'm not sure if you've enjoyed First We Feast YouTube channel about food and Hot Ones. Great series where they just get celebrities and they sit there and eat hot wings. First of all, I like hot wings. Second of all, I like some celebrities. And it's just a really good format for a show. But Harry Kane's on it next week. This week. 2 days? 2 days' time. What's Harry Kane doing on Hot Ones? It caught me by surprise. I mean, anytime somebody goes on that show, it's because, I don't know, they've got a film coming out, or they've got a book to promote. There's some sort of promotional reason why they are on that show. So the fact that Harry Kane is on there makes me think, okay, why has his agent booked that for him? I don't know. He does love NFL as well, doesn't he, Harry Kane? I think he said that before, that at some point he'd love to see himself as a kicker in the NFL. But yeah, I'm going to be watching that one. And back to the actual story here is this. The suggestion here that Spurs may well offer Harry Kane a 400 grand a week deal if he can be convinced to stay at Spurs. That's a lot of dough. That is a lot of dough. And that's absolutely nowhere near any sort of wage structure that Spurs currently have. I don't know how Postecoglou could convince him to do that. I'll be honest. And if Spurs were ever going to do it with Harry Kane in that team, it had to be that season with Poch, where Levy just didn't give him any money. Did not give him any money. That was when, if Spurs were going to win it, obviously they got to the Champions League final. I think they finished second as well that year, or maybe it was the second the year before. Either way, that was when it was going to happen. So the idea that Postecoglou can convince Kane that all of a sudden I'm going to be the man that takes us back to the top, I'd be surprised. But 400 grand a week is a rather persuasive argument, I would say. So let's see what continues to happen there. The only thing that we've seen so far with Harry Kane is Bayern Munich have had a bid rejected, and they're going in with a second bid, I think worth around 80 million euros, of which that's expected to be rejected as well. And maybe Spurs are going to try everything. Not maybe. Of course, they're going to try everything in their power to try and get him to sign a new contract. See, you've sent a super chat there, dude, but you didn't write anything with it. So if you can, just write a normal comment and I'll try and spot it down there. Let's see what you're saying down there. Did I say Postecoglou? Is it Postecoglou? 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 Postecoglou's fun. There's no way I think that he convinced the Kane that, oh yeah, I'm going to be the guy that transforms it all. Don't know. But look, as I said, football's back tomorrow. And as much as I am begrudging the fact that we've got to watch 8 preseason games, 8. Anyway, these are the fixtures that we've got coming up. Right, let's go full screen here. So on the 12th of July, which is, of course, tomorrow, we play Leeds at 4 o'clock kickoff UK time. And we play in Oslo, I believe, at the Ullevål Stadion. And then a week later, we play Lyon. I think that one's in Edinburgh. It is in Murrayfield. And then 3 days after that, that's when our preseason tour kicks off. So, we're talking about, let's get Onana in, let's get Onana in. I believe Manchester United fly out for the preseason tour on the Friday. So what's that? 3 days before that? No, Saturday. No, we must fly out earlier than that. I'm guessing we fly out 3 days before we play our first game. That's just a project. No, we can't because we play 3 days. My God, they're not leaving much time for this. This preseason is stacked. Players are going to be exhausted going into the season. Of course, the preseason, first and foremost, the preseason is about fitness. Fitness. It's the main thing. Now, last preseason was all about, the same time as fitness, it was about understanding Ten Hag's style of play, the switch of systems. There was a lot that these players had to get in their heads whilst also focusing on the fitness. Now, that's something that we don't have to do this summer as much. We do to a certain degree, and certainly new signings have to get used to it. But the players would at least be mentally more than halfway there when it comes to understanding Ten Hag's style of play. And it'll be like, all right, okay, but they slip back into the systems and the practices that they were doing the year before. So it should be slightly different in the preseason. Let's run through. One thing I'm really, really looking forward to, man, is seeing these two bad boys back together. And also waiting for Onana to come in so we can see Onana as the goalkeeper, Varane as the right centre-back, and Martinez as the left centre-back. It's going to be Manchester United's best choice next year. And it is that sort of triangle is going to be, man, the best, really, really, realistically, it's the best triangle we've had since, I don't know. You might go as far back as Rio, Vidic, and Van der Sar. Maybe I'm being slightly unfair. I'm kind of forgetting some partnerships that we had. But it really is. I've got concerns about Varane's ability to cope with the demands of a full season. Yeah, I do. Lindelof can obviously step in, but we need, when you're a world-class team competing in multiple competitions, you need 2 world-class players in each position, which I don't particularly think that Manchester United have got at centre-back. Now, Harry Maguire's been training 3 times a week. Maybe he has a renaissance. I don't personally think that's possible. And I think that's more personal than anything. Because I've said it yesterday, I was getting slated for it. I genuinely think he would be a better centre-back with Onana behind him compared to what he has been with De Gea behind him. However, I feel like it would just be in everyone's best interest if the book is closed, he's sold on, and he goes and restarts somewhere else. And Man United can therefore reinvest that cash. I feel like that suits everyone the best. But let's have a quick look at some preseason training photos from yesterday. Jadon Sancho. There's so much talk about Jadon Sancho. Some weird things that were going around on Twitter yesterday saying, oh, look how fat he is. I think it was just like a bad picture with a bit of wind. People jumped on it. But make no mistake, I think this is the year for Jadon Sancho. It's do or die. Jadon Sancho won't be a Manchester United player next season if he doesn't have the season that he should be having. He got given 3 months off mid-season and still was unable to sort of burst through. I think from a numbers-wise perspective, when it comes to like numbers and minutes and contributions, I think he's still actually quite good. But it's just still not that Jadon Sancho that we know is right there. We know he's there. It's not a case of, he's a great player. It's just we haven't seen that enough at United. Is it a system thing? Is it a mentality thing? Is it a fitness thing? Is it all of them together? Now imagine it's a little bit of all of them together. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Because I think actually last preseason, going back to it, he was one of the most exciting players. Him and Martial, they clicked straight away, man. They've really clicked. Lots of you in the comments saying Sancho will come good. I really, really hope so as well, man. There's Mason Mount. I'm looking forward to seeing him make his debut. I think he missed the 2 international games for England with injury. But he seems fine in preseason. He seems totally fine. I don't know whether he'll start, but I imagine he'll make his debut in Oslo against Leeds. And I'm really intrigued to see. I've done a little short video that will be going out on TikTok, Instagram as well. Maybe on YouTube Shorts. Probably not on YouTube Shorts because I'm doing a full version of it. But I'm looking forward to seeing what position Mason Mount occupies. Because I think we're going to be playing with 2 number 8s, Bruno and Mount alongside each other with 1 deeper lying playmaker. It means that one of the, rather than having 2 central midfielders and 1 number 10, one of those central midfielders are going to get pushed up now. Therefore, we're going to be able to front press more. I think it's going to work well for United next season. And look who's back. I can't wait to see this bloke back. Martinez. We all remember, oh, geez. Who was it against? Can't remember what game it was now. It was at Old Trafford. Was it Europa League? God knows. Who cares? Where we all thought that Martinez had done his Achilles. Just the way that he hopped up, the way that he went down, the way that he looked in absolute pain when he went off. We were all fearing the worst. But it ended up being a metatarsal. It was against Sevilla. Yeah, Sevilla. There you go. Thank you very much. Sevilla at home. Or Sevilla at home, sorry. We all feared the absolute worst. But it was a metatarsal, and he seems to be totally fine. So let's find out by watching. There's only so much we can look into in this preseason, but I think there are some stories, and probably the Leeds game will be the most interesting one because we haven't seen him for a while. So that's going to be where we get to answer quite a few questions. And that's why I'm going to do my video at lunchtime today on that preseason tour and sort of any other questions that we've got. One player in particular that I am excited to see, if there's a photo of him, which it doesn't seem like there is. Never mind. But Kobbie Mainoo, right? Kobbie Mainoo is a player that I really, really want to be seeing against Leeds tomorrow. I think he's a perfect break. Everything is set for him to break through into this team this year. Last season was all about Garnacho. This season should be all about Kobbie Mainoo. I don't know whether he's going to... He's of that age, right? He's of that age where he can be molded into pretty much whatever midfielder Erik Ten Hag wants him to be. It's down to Ten Hag and the coaching staff to look at his natural attributes and go, which position would actually be best for him? And it strikes me that an understudy to Casemiro and that player who does receive it first from the defender. So you might say Amrabat would be a decent signing, but would he get in the way of Mainoo a little bit? He could do. Let me see what you're saying in the comments down here. Will Amad be there? Amad should be on the plane. We should be seeing Amad start. I don't know what time we're going to get the traveling squad today, but we will have it at some point today. I will probably wait until that is out before I do my predicted 11 and the conversation points around the preseason, because there's no point in me talking about Mason Mount's debut if he's not actually going to be making his debut. What else are you saying? The last couple of minutes on a show, of every show, you know what to do. Fire in your questions. At some point, when I do get the software, I know I've mentioned it for so long, but give me time. If you knew the amount of things I was doing constantly, you'd appreciate why it's taken a little bit longer than usual. Because a few people have let me down on trying to get it fixed. So I'm having to do it all myself. And that's why it's taking longer. Could McNeil be promoted to the first team? The McNeil conversation went all a bit quiet. I can't remember where he went on loan last year. Was it Salford? Stockport? Might have been Stockport. But there's not really much talk about Charlie McNeil breaking through into the first team this year. Will the first team be back for the RC Lens game? I think... No, the RC Lens game is after... That's the 5th of August, man. First team will be plenty back before that. The first team will be back next week. So, yeah, don't worry about that. Carl, you're saying, remember how fire Sancho was last preseason? Yeah, he was. Absolutely. If Madison and Shaw aren't available for Leeds after international duty, who starts at left back, says Alex? Well, that is an easy question to answer. Let me put his photo up here. Well, I'll put it at the back of his head. Alvaro Fernandez. If we don't have Manacia or Shaw fit, then Fernandez will come in at left back. Was on loan at Preston last year. He looks good, man. But I think, unfortunately for him, he'd be third choice at left back. So I think he's probably better off going off on loan again. But again, go back to the thing I always say. What happens when players are sent out on loan twice? Do they really break through? I don't know. James, would you ever consider getting an app? Could make it easier for people to watch it all. I mean, an app could happen, but if you've ever tried to make an app, they are ridiculously difficult to do. And I know that there's some like out of the box solutions that might look good on the surface until you start digging in and you start getting involved in the tech of it all. Having built a website and ran a website for 10 years, I know how easy something can look and how much work might have to be done behind the scenes just to make that look easy. Kevin, you're asking the latest on the takeover. If there was an update, I'll give it to you, but there isn't one. We're just sitting and waiting. There's nothing more that can be said about this takeover apart from an announcement on a preferred bidder or somebody that the Glazers are selling to. So all we're waiting for. There is nothing else that can be reported or said about Qatari confidence or Ineos confidence or any sort of confidence. We're just waiting for the announcement. What are you saying down here? Jude, yeah, I've seen your replies on Twitter about the quiz you won. I've not been ignoring you. I'll get it sorted. Apologies. This is why I normally give all this stuff across to Dan, who's a community manager, but I haven't, and that's why it's taken a bit longer. I'm doing a million things. A million. But look, I'm going to wrap this one up because I've now got to go and prepare this lunchtime video today. And I want to get that done. So thank you all for tuning in, as always. The latest on Onana is it's still expected to be done, as Fabrizio Romano has reiterated here, by Wednesday or Thursday. Let's find out. I want to get the here we go before Friday. It's what I want. It's what you want. It's what Ten Hag wants. Tomorrow is the preseason and it kicks off. I'm going to run through my predicted 11 for the game. And if I get all 11, that's it. There's no point in me putting any lottery tickets on ever again. No one gets 11 out of 11 in the preseason. Certainly not the first one. But I also want to run through some key points that I'm looking forward to in the game. So big up to everyone who tuned in. Make sure you do drop a like on the video. And I completely forget to say it every day. But look, this is the biggest raffle prize that we have done so far. £700 is going to go to someone for just £1. Charlie last month won a 50-inch 4K TV and a Bose soundbar for £1. And you could do the same thing, but a holiday, which is even better. It depends. Depends whether you want it or not. But here is the link to it. The tickets are only £1. 10% of all entries go to charity as well. We've raised hundreds of pounds quietly in the background for Men's Mental Health UK. So that's the link down there. Big up to everyone. Get your ticket. Have a good day.